What's up, guys? This is Captain Daniel Kim, and today's video, I'm gonna make an honest video about the dark side of game or the dark side of becoming attractive. So, you know, all those videos I make and the coaching I do, there's a lot of positives to it, right? And I think these are a lot of things that most men or even the guys watching this video, if you follow my channel, you want to reap all the benefits of what I teach, right? But the more and more I go deep into this and in a way become an expert into this, I also realize that this thing called about becoming attractive and this thing called game, right? And it there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of negatives with it. And I want to start with a couple things that I learned through this journey that I believe would help you. And it might actually push you away from this journey, but I want you to know the truth, right? So the first one is that, this is a never ending journey and there's going to be a lot of identity crises, right? Where you're changing the person who you were to be the person you want to become. Or in my case, with a lot of my clients, I say it's the person you already are. And the world has told you that you are this, you're not attractive, you can't get girls. And you kind of start with that mentality and you kind of lose sight of who you are, right? But if that has been your identity and that's who you think you are, which is a guy who doesn't get girls, who's not attractive, it's very hard to shift into reality unless you take the red pill and actually see the matrix and get out of the matrix. But when you start shifting, the quote they say, when you start to change how you see when you start changing yourself, the world changes also, right? So this thing called, let's say, whatever age you're in, like usually guys who watch my videos are probably in their late 20s or their 30s or even older age. Think about all those years of you kind of built an identity, and not by choice sometimes, right? Subconsciously, you just became this person you are right now, and you're not happy for it. But you gotta kind of remove all that bullshit that you've created this identity, right? You built this foundation which you didn't want to, right? The more fragile that foundation is, actually easier to break, and that's what I'll help you with. But you're gonna have an identity crisis. You're gonna go through this journey where it's gonna be long. It's gonna take the faster you get there is based on how hard you work, or you work with a coach, or you really put in the effort. But you're gonna have a lot of you're gonna kind of lose sight of who you are. There's a lot of my clients, they say like, this is not really me. I teach them things, it's not really me, this is not who I am. But who are you really, right? And you can't really know that unless you go back to when you were a child. And there's this famous quote that recently got to my heart and my mind, and became one where I was really thinking about this quote and made sense to me, especially in this thing called game, this journey called game, is, every man thinks he has two lives, and he starts living the second one realize when he realizes there's only one life to live. So you guys, we don't know if you have multiple lives or there's reincarnation or you go to heaven or whatever. There's only one life to live, right? And if right now you're stuck and you feel like you can be more, or you deserve a better life, especially when it comes to dating, and you can become more attractive, like, you got to start living that life you want to live. And all the other stuff that is in your reality now and even in your past, it might cause some like struggles, right? For example, today I was talking to a client about how do you deal with friends and family who don't understand this new you. Is it the new you, or was it the actual you, right? And that's where you have to choose that identity. And for me, it took a while. And I was telling my client about a story where, I was starting to get in this, and I was, like I told you, I was an Air Force captain, but I knew for sure I wanted to go in this realm of becoming a dating coach. And also I wanted my identity to be a guy who games, who learns this stuff, right? And I remember I used to tell my friends about it, because when you start a new journey, we love to tell people about it, right? We're like, oh, I did this, I'm doing this, I took a boot camp, I'm learning from a dating coach. And I thought at first my friends were, excited for me and stuff. But once I actually started becoming attractive, once I started actually dating women, an interesting scenario happened where I was actually going to a birthday party with where a couple of my friends were there, and I literally arrived to the house, and I was downstairs in the parking lot, and I was like, hey, I called my friend, I was like, hey, I'm here. And I called him and I said, yo, I'm about to head out. What's the door code, whatever? And he like pauses and he says, hey man, honestly, the birthday boy actually doesn't want you to come up. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm here, I brought the drinks, I did everything. What are you talking about? he actually thinks like, you're kind of weird. He thinks that you changed, and he thinks that you're just gonna flirt and try to pick up all the girls at his birthday party. So now I became the guy who just goes to party, to pick up girls, right? And like, to each his own, right? Like, a lot of guys, they say they go out to party, to just have fun, but what I realize is most guys do want to meet a woman that night, but they just don't want to accept it, and they want to get out of the frame of like, oh, I'm not partying to get girls, right? Maybe some guys genuinely like to drink and have fun, but for me in my life, like, I don't go out. I don't go out to party. I don't like to party. If I do go out, like to party, yeah, personally, I would love to, if I could meet a nice girl, get her number or Instagram, or have a fun night where we go out to eat that girl and I spend the night with her where we're doing cool things together, or yeah, and maybe being intimate, right? That's what I prefer than just go out and drinking, doing drugs and doing stupid stuff and wasting my whole night where we go out to 4 in the morning, and that's not fun for me, right? So there is that identity crisis where I had to choose one road, and some of the friends who knew me before didn't accept this new me, and I had to either choose appeasing them or just being me, right? And you know what path I took. And you're gonna come to that point when you're in this journey called game, and you're not becoming the new you or changing yourself. Either it's becoming your original version, and you're actually breaking out of the shell where the world kind of puts stuff on you and try to mask you and tell them what the world thinks of you, and you don't want to get out of that, and you're starting to get out of that, the world will try to push you down. I mean, it's not like me against the world, but it will, because you're now changing the equilibrium of what you set up, right? Everything's equilibrium, right? People are just calm. They're good with the way you are now. Like, don't change it. Like, we're equilibrium. We like you for you. Don't change that. So I was telling my client, like, be respectful, but you gotta, in the end, do what makes you happy, right? So that's the first con of, or negative that might come, is that you might lose your friends, you might get into arguments with your family, and you might even argue with yourself. Is this the journey you're supposed to be on? So this is something you have to figure out and make that decision, right? Do you want to take the road less taken, where you feel like you might lose all your friends, right? I mean, I'll be honest, I had some lonely nights. I remember that one time in the car, I literally shook the car's wheel, the steering wheel, and I was like, what the fuck, right? I was so pissed. And I felt like, I was gonna say revenge is the best success, right? Or success is the best revenge. But now I don't even really care, right? It's just a story that I tell for students to relate to me, because a lot of students go through this. Actually, all my students, I think all my students, if they keep going on this journey, they do have an identity crisis where the past and the present doesn't align with their future. And then when the future becomes the present, like, they're very confused, right? So that's probably the first thing, identity crisis, and it's something you gotta make a decision on, right? And the second one is that this is fucking hard, guys. This is not a journey. Like, everyone thinks, this thing called game, or this thing about becoming attractive, like, it's supposed to be efficient, it's supposed to be easy as possible, all that stuff. But I do think it's easier now because of all the resources you have. It's kind of like people who say they're rich is they or guys who are self-help in terms of finance. They say you're richer than the person who was a king like 200 or 1,000 years ago, right? And that's true, right? You rather be like, I think there's a guy named Naval Ravikant said he'd rather be a middle class now than be a king way back in the Middle Ages, right? Because he's saying that our net worth is still a lot more than the king back in the Middle Ages. To each his own, it's all perception. But I do agree with them, because back then they didn't have an iPhone. Your iPhone is probably worth more than like all the gold that even like a rich, high society person back in the Middle Ages had, right? So this is not easy, guys. You're trying to be a top percentage of a society that most men covet or want, right? Like, most men want to be attractive. Most men want to get the girls. Like, think about high school days, right? We wanted to be the popular kid, and you wanted to do this. You want to change the bullshit story you lived in high school. Most of my students, they got bullied in high school, got no girls in high school or in college or in middle school, wherever. And now that you're trying to become this new character in this thing called the Matrix, and you think it's going to be easy. No, the Matrix is going to try to be like, hey, we put you in this position as this character, stay in that character. We don't want you to become this cool guy out of nowhere. We want you to be a loser. So why are you changing the Matrix? The Matrix, or I guess the Agent Smiths of the world, like, don't want you to change that equilibrium, that piece. So, but it's gonna be hard. It's not like you're gonna have to fight against some Agent Smiths, or you're gonna fight against some, obstacles. You're gonna have to do it, right? But like, don't get discouraged by that, right? Like, worst case, I'm saying worst case, if you go on this journey and the Matrix or the world tells you no, you can't be that, yeah, then just go back to your normal character. It's not that bad. You're not, as long as you're not dying or you're starving or you have no house over your head, you could just go back to that old version of you, which you're used to anyways, and you know what to do. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're trying to become this new character in this matrix or this world, in the character you want to be, you're gonna have to go through a journey. That's just how it is, and it's not sunshine and rainbows. It's gonna challenge you, and that's like you can't be a hero of your own journey, of your own story, if you don't have obstacles, right? So just prepare for that. That's number two, right? Prepare for the obstacles. Is this road ain't easy. Number three. So this thing called game, right? In the beginning, you make it about, you're supposed to start off with you, right? You're sort of about you want to become attractive because you want to validate yourself, right? In the end, you want the validation that, hey, when you look in the mirror, not just physical realm, but like you look at yourself and like, yo, I'm attractive because I say I am. But it's really hard when the whole world says you're not attractive, right? And usually how men figure out how they're attractive in the very beginning of this journey, when I first coach them, is through women. And, I recently went through a personal experience where, like, I don't like talking about my personal stuff when it comes to dating, like the girls I dated, but there's a recent personal relationship where, like, a lot of my flaws, right, or the negatives of this thing called game probably hurt another person. And she might be watching this, actually, because she did get upset at some of the videos I made recently because she thought it was about her. And these videos are for me to aid people who are on this journey. It's not about me and me sharing my personal story about so I could just like talk about my life only, right? It's about to share insight, right? So if I say, so one of the issues arose was like, so while I was like with her, I was talking about a story where, oh, if, you know, what could I have done to attract another girl? I wasn't actually thinking about attracting that other girl. I was just thinking like, yo, how do I help a guy in that situation where I was in? And I kind of felt like, yes, was she at one moment like next to me and I saw a girl and she was attractive? It wasn't me because like I wasn't thinking about actually getting that girl to like me, right? It was, I know I was with the girl. It was just a story I was telling on YouTube, and she watched this recent video and she thought I was attracted to the other girl and not her. So that wasn't it at all. I was telling a story so I could help the people who view this, and watching the people who view this who want to work with me or work on themselves improve, right? So first I want to say that, like, I don't share personal stories. All my personal stories are to help the viewers, right? That's my main thing. But I'm sharing this story because I want you guys to learn from this and understand that this journey is about you, but the human world is it's a social environment, right? So I do think there are characters in the Matrix who, if you watch the movie, I keep bringing back the Matrix, but it's the best analogy for it, right? So in the Matrix, there's certain programs, right? There's just programs that the Matrix puts to just like, they're just characters that they created. But I also think there's people who are inside the Matrix who are people like you, and some people are willing to get out of the Matrix, and some people are not. And I think the person I was dating at the time, who it recently ended, like, I realized when you're on this journey, you have to understand, especially in the beginning, we make it about a girl, right? We make it about girl or girls, whatever, and you want to be in some kind of attraction with them, right? That you want them to find you attractive, you want them to like you, and you want the validation from them. And obviously, with me and this girl, we started, dating, and everything was intentional. Where like I liked her, right? I genuinely liked her. I had feelings for her, and at some point, like, I was honest with her that I didn't want to be in a relationship, right? I wanted to date her, but I wasn't in a relationship, and that's what I thought I made clear. But I think what happened was she didn't feel that way, and sometimes you can't just be inconsiderate of the other person in front of you, especially when you're on this journey. So because on this journey, when we first start out, we make it about girls, right? Girls liking us to get the validation that we're attractive. But don't forget that that other person, that human being, is also a human, and she has feelings, and she's gonna go through her own stuff. And I was just looking back at all my past relationships when I'm on this journey, and I always made it about, I always focused on being logical and take out all emotions. And I focused a lot more on the worst things, the bad things that happened, why a relationship didn't work out, why didn't she like me, all that stuff, and I try to improve on that. And it was always about focusing on the girls that hurt me so I could not make that ever happen again. And now my clients do that, right? They usually come to me because they go through a breakup and they don't want this to happen again. And that's the reason why they improve themselves. And it's funny because when they're happy, they don't want to improve themselves. They actually want to go back to their old selves to continue the same habits that made them get no girls. And that's why they end up losing the girl anyways. So in my scenario, I messed up. And if she's watching this, I want to say I'm sorry to you. Like, and I'm not saying this in a overconfident way, a cocky way, but I do feel like I hurt you and I was being very selfish because I made this whole journey all about myself and what I do. And I didn't realize a character who comes into my life, right? Yeah, she's a supporting character, but she's a very important role. And during that supporting character, I need to be considerate of her feelings. And looking back at what just happened in this past relationship is I should have been aware of what my actions can do. Because guys, when you're on this journey and you're becoming attractive, and when you start liking yourself, I do think people will start liking you too. And especially if you fall in love with yourself, I think when people fall in love with you. I don't know if this person fell in love with me, but I do think she liked me just as much as I liked her. But remember, she has her own journey, right? And I think most women don't have dating coaches because they can naturally get guys usually. That's what I've seen, especially when you're attractive. And I think we both knew how to date people. Well, I'll speak for myself. I knew how to date people, but I didn't know how to be in a relationship. And I think she possibly wanted to be in a relationship with me, and I still don't know how to be in a relationship. And there's a lot of things happening where I judged her because she was attacking my character, especially when she was angry. But that was how she was reacting when she gets hurt, and I accepted that. And like I forgave that because some of the things she did, some of the words she said did hurt me, and it was very rude to me. But it's not her. That's not her character, right? But I also need to stand strong, and I'm like, I can't be in a relationship with someone who does turn to this different person when she gets angry, right? So I think that's the third con is like you might hurt people on this journey just as much as people might hurt you, right? So we all start this journey called being attractive. So because girls hurt me, like I started this journey because my first love rejected me, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you that I've been hurt multiple times in this journey, but don't lose sight that you might hurt people on the way too, right? And it's something that I am learning now recently is that on this journey of me becoming attractive and this thing called game, I've been only focusing on me and me getting hurt, but I didn't know that my actions could actually hurt other people too. Because, you know, some of the things I've done, it's cause and effect, right? And like my intention was to never hurt anyone. But it's interesting because I was focusing so much on the things that other people, the girls that hurt me, I didn't know I might have been hurting other people, which if you focus only on things, you attract what you focus on, right? So because I just focus on things, how girls hurt me, I'm never gonna make that happen again. I might have been hurting other people. And I feel like it's just a circle of dating, right? Circle of like just people hurting people and just messes up, you know, like that person's life and even my life, right? Like, because I try not to bring baggage with me when I meet another girl. I try to have a clean slate, but it's hard, right? Because you want to let go, but like I told you, I'm very, very logical, so I don't want to make the same mistake twice. So I'm actually, it has to start brand new, but I bring in some kind of baggage subconsciously when I get into a relationship. And I think this person had her doubts about me too from our past relationships. And in the end, it didn't work out. And I think I just have a message for that person too. And this is something you guys should do too. It's just, I want to say sorry. I never meant to hurt you. This is my journey. And, I could say I have no regrets, but I do have a real regret that if I hurt you or if you're in pain, that was never my intention. So, I don't know, man. I just, yeah. That's probably one of the biggest cons of this journey, guys. It's just like, I don't know if I hurt the other person, right? I don't know what they're feeling. I don't know what their emotional hurt is. And at the same time, I'm not responsible for it because they chose to feel the way they do. But you can't say that to someone, right? Because your action caused it. And most people, if your action caused them to feel a certain way, they're gonna blame you right away. And you want to tell the person it's also something with you, but you can't. That's not how life is, right? It's because some people don't want to accept that. And I didn't know that. I just felt like because I'm on this own journey, like it's their responsibility if they feel like shit. But then, when a girl hurts me, I try to take full accountability. But I'll be honest, I do feel hurt, and it sucks in that moment. And to all the women that I might have hurt, I'm not saying this in a cocky way, like you have the audacity to say you hurt me. I'm not saying that. It's not at all. But if I did hurt you in some kind of way, I'm really sorry. I never meant to. I'm not on this journey to hurt people. I'm on this journey to better myself, to fall in love with myself, so I have enough love to give to other people. That's the end of this journey. That's why I'm on this journey. So that's the con, guys. Like, don't forget about that. There's other supporting characters in your life, and some will hurt you, but some you will hurt them, and just be conscious of that, right? So like, because this is a journey. It's actually, it might be never ending until you die, guys. To be honest. So those are probably the three things I'm talking about when it comes to some of the things you'll go through in this journey, some of the things that you will have to overcome. And that's why this thing about becoming attractive, it's a whole new world, man. You're getting to a whole new world that you might not be ready for. And I'm telling you, I was reading today about how you got to expect the worst, and if the worst happens, how you handle it. Don't just expect the worst and to be like negative about it. I'm saying if the worst happens, right? Like, for example, this journey. If you journey on becoming attractive, a journey getting girls, if worst case scenario, this is not for you, like you can't get girls, what's your plan B? And the plan B for me is, obviously I'm already on this journey, but the plan B is, yeah, like I just go back and I settle down and, I just live the life that I used to live. Yes, sounds like it sucks, but it's better than being dead, right? So I also gonna be okay with that. Like, I'm on this journey to become the best version of myself, right? But let's say worst case, I get hurt, right? And the best version of myself is not max out my looks, but maybe just walking because I get into an injury or something, right? Maybe it's just about being the best version of myself in that moment. I think I'm okay with that, right? That's my plan B. Is in that moment I'm okay with the best being version of myself. Right now I feel like I have a lot of potential. That's why I'm always pushing myself, right? I can be more, 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 more. But I think plan B is just doing the best with what I've got, or maybe that should be my plan A. But guys, if you're coming on this journey and you're really, really, really starting about, getting on a coaching call with me or watching my videos consistently to get on this journey, just like understand there's always a yin and a yang. And the good is not better than the bad, and the bad is not worse. It's not like something you should avoid completely because of the good. Because the good and the bad is necessary for equilibrium, right? So understand that you're gonna go through a lot of goods on this journey, but be conscious of the bads and like understand the bad will happen, but like don't associate so much meaning and negativity to it, but also don't associate so much positive to the good where you lose sight of how you're affecting the people around you too. I know you're affecting yourself, but imagine there's gonna be other girls. Like, don't get to a point where you're causing negative energy to other people and because you're focusing so much on yourself. So I hope this made sense. Like, it's just something I was talking about in my head recently because I didn't know I was hurting people, and it's something I didn't even consider because I'm like, this is my journey. How's it my fault if I hurt them if they choose to get hurt? But just be considerate, right? Just be considerate and be compassionate because that will always come back as a boomerang. Because I realized because I wasn't being considerate of how I was hurting women, that's why other women were hurting me too. Does that make sense? Because it was like a boomerang, right? Because I kept on focusing on girls who hurt me, so then eventually I was hurting people too. So it's just keep going, bouncing back. I'm hurting people, other people are hurting me. I'm hurting people, other people are hurting me. So hope that helps, right, guys? This is a very honest video. It's been a pleasure. If you guys want to get on a coaching call, talk about this, hit me up anytime in the description below.